Monday. Welcome back to the book club for movies. It is Amy Lejoie and Samir Roy here. Samir, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Is it a happy Monday?
Well, it's Monday. The weekend is over.
It is. It is. Did you watch anything fun over the weekend besides our movie pick?
I also watched all of that series on Discovery Plus, the American Ripper show. I watched the whole thing. Well, you'll be glad that I did because, yeah,
Is it not that good?
It's not that good. 8 episodes of not that good. It was really, really sad how not good it was.
Well, tell people
we'll go into that later because I got a lot to say, and this is not the half hour to talk about it. But we'll get there eventually. Don't you worry.
I also watched some not that good ghost things, mainly Ghost Adventures. Like, oh,
they're so ridiculous, those guys.
They are. And I keep wanting to watch some of them only because of where they film. Like the one I watched yesterday, I watched one they filmed at the Riviera in Las Vegas, which isn't there anymore. It's been torn down, but that's one of the original casinos, and like a lot of movies have been filmed there, which is my big thing. Yeah, but it was ridiculous. They were trying to contact Frank Sinatra, and it was like, yeah, I don't think Frank Sinatra gives a shit about you, dude.
There's another terrible show. I couldn't remember for the longest time what the name of the other awful show that's even worse than that is, where they're literally just walking into places and then just like, are you the ghost? Is the ghost here? If you're here, make a noise. If you're here, say something. Like they never get a response. They never get anything. But they're like celebrity ghost hunt. It's called Kindred Spirits. It's so bad. It's like even worse. They're not as yelly, as the Ghost Adventure or Ghost Hunt, whichever one it is, guys.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. I still think Ghost Hunters is good. I mean, it's still bad, but the better one. I did see there's another one. We both just got Discovery Plus. That's why we're all like, they have ghost things and true crime things. I saw there's another show that I hadn't heard of. It's called, I think it's called Ghost Brothers. And it's like 3 black guys. And I was like, well, I want to watch that one.
Well, let's see if they find any ghosts.
Yeah, I don't know. But that one looks good. I mean, who knows? They're all ridiculous, but I want to give that one a shot too, because it's got to be better than Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, Ghost Adventures is pretty bad, but that guy I still want to see that guy's haunted museum in Vegas, because he's also a collector of like cursed object type things.
There are a few episodes about the haunted museum, I think, of Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, I just want to go to the gift shop, really, but that's me. Anyways, but that was the other stuff that I like threw on this weekend. I actually started watching some more of the Leaving Criterion Collection stuff. I started watching that. That's leaving at the end of this month because it's a shorter month, so we won't have as much time. So I was watching Bell, Book, and Candle, which is a really great witch movie, like amazing. We'll talk about that later too. But I watched a lot of fun stuff in addition to You've Got Mail.
I watched You've Got Mail. Instead of watching the Super Bowl, I paused it to watch the halftime show. But You've Got Mail. That was the main event. Walter, that is honestly something that made me very curious to actually watch this show.
They're like, there's ghosts. We're getting out of here. That's all we needed.
No, we're not messing with that. But maybe I'll watch an episode tonight. I'll give that show a shot on Discovery Plus. I think it was originally on like the Travel Channel or something.
Yeah, that's in the Discovery Plus app as well. But this I owned on DVD.
Yes, You've Got Mail. I watched it on Hulu. This is available on Hulu if you didn't get a chance to watch it. It'd been a long time since I'd seen this. Probably a good at least 15 years or something since I'd seen this.
This movie was 20 years old. Over 20 years old now.
When it came out. I saw it several years after that. But yeah, really cute. And I admittedly teared up at the end. I always am like, I don't watch movies like this. And then I watch it, I'm like,
Oh my God.
she's like, I wished it was you. And I was like, she wished it was him. And she had like the best reaction of just like, kind of like, oh, I knew it. I don't know.
It was such an interesting thing to play
yeah,
as an actor, though.
it is. And like it's interesting how this movie switches where I mean, I think for me, the more cutesy romantic part is like more like the second half of the film when he's actually like pursuing her, has kind of figured out that like, okay, we've already been talking. Yeah, but it's cute.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, so I was telling you over through text that I'd forgotten that there's this connection with the opening shot of this movie. When you think about it, like I'd say watch the opening sequence of Psycho back to back with the opening sequence of this movie. It sounds insane, but I'm telling you, watch it. You will see like very strange but very clear parallels, like the overhead shot of the city, even though it's simulated and you've got mail, and the sort of series of dissolves that bring us closer and closer to like one particular window. Then the camera just like creeps up and slides through the window to find a blonde woman in bed. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, that was a common Hitchcock opener, is starting big on like a city and then like, let's just see what's in this window.
well, that was particular
ending
to Psycho.
particularly on a blonde in bed, that is where it gets a little more like, this seems like it's too close.
Well, I feel like there's another argument you can make in a film studies essay kind of way, because that specific series of shots that are Psycho, like all of Hitchcock's opening scenes are not the same. Like that one stands out.
Well, no, there are
like in particular because of the way it seems to randomly select a window and then the way it actually moves through the window into the room, into this very private moment of somebody in bed. But it's also like these are all tools of communication and technology that enable us to communicate with each other in some way. And the way that they are, the way they come in and become a part of your lives. Of course, computers are a way for anybody to spy anybody these days. But, who knows? Maybe those were some of the fears then. All I know is that there's a very distinct parallel to it that's very interesting and adds another element to discuss later on. But I really love this version of the story. I feel like I remember somebody saying about Clueless that the reason that movie ended up becoming a timeless classic is because it updated a story to the modern day. And then you obviously, once you've passed that age, you can look back on that specific period with a bit of nostalgia. And so this movie gives you a lot of that, like the clicks and the buzzing and whirring of like your internet connecting and the chunky laptops that they use. And so, like all of those things, like there's like that element of it, like those, yeah, you get that kind of like, oh, I remember that. But at the same time, it's kind of amazing how clearly Nora Ephron and her sister, they co-wrote the screenplay together. I think they wrote a great screenplay. Like, I think it comes back with really great observations about the culture and the world around them in a way. But I thought they worked really, really, really well together to give us this. I'm trying to let me see if I can find that quote. There's a local critic in San Diego I used to read all the time who surprisingly liked this movie. He's the one who used to give like 0 stars to almost everything, and every now and then if you got 2 stars or above, then it must be a really good movie, because he gives almost everything 0 or 1 stars. And he gave this movie 3 stars out of 5, which made it one of his top 10 of the year. Not because he made lists like that, he just ranked everything and he didn't do a top 10 list or anything like that at the end of the year. It just would be like, it just happened to be like, oh, well, this is one of the 10 movies that got above 2 stars this year with your rating system. But it's like Nora Ephron, the director and co-writer, along with her sister Delia, has neatly whisked our secret correspondence from the old world of stamps and envelopes to the new world of internet chat rooms and email, and has transformed these former Budapest shop clerks into Upper West Side rival proprietors. And of course, the bookstore is named after the original film. The transformation is total. Ephron, or both Ephrons, good company for one another and for us, something he never said before or since about them, have gone out into our own world and come back with a lot to say about it. Not only about the computer versus the typewriter and the sprawling corporation versus the vanishing independent, but about Starbucks coffee, The Godfather, cash-only checkout lines, TV talk shows, whatever comes up in the course of the day. She is not the strongest directorial personality, swaying to the changing beat of the pop songs on the soundtrack, bowing down to the Hollywood A-list, applying the occasional drop of oil to a smooth-running commercial machine. The end product has more in common than she might care to admit with the dreaded specter of Fox Books. Remakes are Fox Books. Pop songs on the soundtrack are Fox Books. Individually or together again, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are Fox Books. But beneath the gloss, beneath the pragmatism, beneath the compromise, however, are a beating heart, an alert eye, and a sharp tongue. And I was like, that's a perfect explanation, I think, of this movie. There's all these parts of it, like, okay, she can rail as much as she wants against, like a big chain bookstore. And it's like, you are making, but, at the same time, she's making a studio film. So the studio film is, the studio is as much of a juggernaut business-wise and a threat to smaller independent studios, just, as Fox Books is to the shop around the corner. And I'm always kind of amazed that they kind of just sail through the, like, I shut down your business to let's become a couple. Like that part always, I'm like, I feel like I'm a different person than her. Obviously, that's part of this character, is that she's not that kind of character. So she would not seek vengeance against me. I'd be like, where do I bring the torch wielding mob? Like that's what I would do. But she, what she had and treasured in that store was something, I think, maybe, I feel like the kind of character that she was would feel like being vengeful and angry like that would somehow be a disservice to the life that she led in the person that her mother was. And I always get teary-eyed when she closes the bookstore for the last time. And that's the one moment when the score and the pop songs, all, like, after you get that moment of score when she's like imagining herself dancing with her mom in the empty bookstore. And after that moment and she closes the gate, it's just silent. It's just the sound of the little bell in her hand. No score, no pop song, just this very sad image of a woman walking alone down the street with one bag in her hand. It's the last remnant from this store that, I always got, it came through to me how much that store meant to her. I felt like a really, like, something that had a lot of depth to it and real emotion, not just fake Hollywood emotion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like there could have been a little bit more showing, like how closing the store was maybe a good thing for her. Like they kind of hinted at a little bit of like, oh, I'm going to get back into writing, or someone's offered me this. But I feel like we could have seen a little more of that, because otherwise it was just like, okay, but your store closed.
Like, well, she doesn't know what she wants to do yet.
Pay your rent or something? My God, like, come on.
Well, I mean, first of all, she probably owned that piece of property because she inherited it. So selling Upper West Side property to someone else, she probably made a cool mill off of that right away. Like there's, who knows, maybe less than that, but at least a few $100,000 at the very least she made off of selling just that little portion of the building. She's not hurting for money because she lost a store, but she's hurting because, like she says in the movie, which always makes me tear up instantly, is when she says, I feel like a part of me has died and my mother has died all over again. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that every single time that moment rings so true to me, because I loved how they built up, like, she has a picture of her mom in the store, and she's giving out handkerchiefs that her mother embroidered for her, and, to customers. And it's, I felt like they gave a really realistic and really beautiful love letter to the small bookstore, like the kind of magical environment that people who own those stores and create them and try to keep them alive, what they really create for kids. I have, where I got my first book is a store that was just like that, where you used to go and somebody would excitedly read you kids' stories, and you'd really just sit down and live in it. And it wasn't like just something that was part of a corporate plan to sell you more books. It's just something she wanted to do because she loved it. So I there's lots of those moments in the movie too, for me. As much as it is like, she has to go get over some pretty big things for this romance to move forward.
I'm seeing some Denzel Washington comments pop up. We will talk about him in a couple minutes. One last thing I want to talk about, though, that Crystal brought up here, this breakup with Frank was so unrealistic. I wish a breakup could be that good. Same. But speaking of Frank, Greg Kinnear was in this movie, and I didn't realize that because I was looking at some of the other people that were in this, like Parker Posey and Dave Chappelle and Steve Zahn, and then it wasn't until I was actually watching the opening credits I was like, oh, Greg Kinnear's in this movie, and like I love Greg Kinnear, like I love him.
No, that was a wonderful little surprise. I remember when
I'm really happy to see.
He used to host Talk Soup back in the day on the E channel. That's how I knew him before I saw him in this movie. Way back in the day, like early or mid 90s. I swear to look it up. I guarantee you, we used to do that before he started getting regular acting gigs.
The earliest thing I ever really remember seeing him in, I guess he was in While You Were Sleeping? I know I'd seen him in Sabrina, the 90s remake with like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he did Talk Soup before that. Like definitely look it up, I guarantee. But regarding the breakup, I used to think that too, but then I remember listening to the commentary on this DVD with Nora Ephron, and she actually pointed that part out where she's like, sometimes the people that you think are just right for you are wrong, and sometimes the people that you think are all wrong for you turn out to be perfect for you in the end, even if you have differing beliefs. And Republicans and Democrats can be married and have a happy life. She's like, you never know, like you never really know who that right person is, and it's usually surprises you when you find them sometimes. But I also like that you knew right away from the beginning of this movie that couple, there was no like real passion between them. So I think they both were kind of like hoping that somebody else would like do the breakup thing, in the context of a Hollywood romantic comedy. I was okay with it, but because you knew that like at some point they were going to be like, I don't love you and you don't love me, so do we have to stay together?
But there were still some issues too of like, okay, they both are having this just friendly email conversation while they're both in relationships with other people. But I mean,
also the illicit affair. See, she's having the affair by email, so it's a blonde woman in bed who is, quote, seeing another man. Psycho reference, I'm telling you, man.
It doesn't make sense, but I understand all the things that you're pointing out, and it is like Psycho, but also not like Psycho.
Well, obviously the stories are completely different, but I do find it interesting that Psycho is a movie about voyeurism and people watching, and there's a lot of other things it's about, but that's one of the major themes of that movie, and the use of the camera, a modern technological invention that brings you into people's lives, is now bringing you into this life, and now you have a camera doing the same thing with someone who's using another tool, another invention that is enabling us to reach into people's homes and ironically bring people closer together while keeping them apart. Perhaps something that rings a little bit sounder in our quarantine living these days, where the only way you can really get close to people from is through Zoom or Skype,
doing book talk,
or FaceTime,
movies. Well, let's get to the meat and potatoes though. But if you haven't seen You've Got Mail, it is available right now on Hulu. Let's talk about our Man Crush Monday. We are going back to for the first 3 days of this month, we will be highlighting Black actors and filmmakers for Black History Month. And today is the two-time Oscar winner, legendary Denzel Washington, who we have not talked about yet. So it was perfect that we threw him in for this month. He is a two-time Oscar winner. As I said, he won Best Supporting Actor for Glory in the late 80s. And then he
89.
won 89, yeah. And he won Best Actor for Training Day? It was Training Day, right?
Yeah. I'm like, I know you'll get there. I know you know it.
I still haven't seen Training Day, but I've seen.
Oh, Amy.
I know, but I've seen a lot of his other things. He's been nominated. Gosh, okay, he was nominated in first for Best Actor in Supporting Role in '88 for Cry Freedom. Then he won for '89's Glory. Then he was nominated for Best Actor for Malcolm X. Then he was nominated for Best Actor in The Hurricane, which is today's film. Then he was nominated and won for Training Day. Then he was nominated for Best Actor for Flight. Then he was nominated for Best Actor for Fences, which is a movie that we watched, and he also directed that. We weren't like wowed by the movie, but the acting certainly was great. And then he was nominated in 2018 for Best Actor for Roman J. Israel Esquire, which I have also seen. So I've seen pretty much all of his other nominated things.
His Oscar-winning role.
But I have seen Glory. Yeah, but he is just a phenomenal, like one of the most famous people. Like when I was looking at photos of him, I saw something. It was like, who's the bigger star, Tom Hanks or Denzel Washington? It's like, I mean, they're both. I wouldn't even compare the two.
Wait, who said that?
Yeah. They're
like,
so
it's
different.
A weird thing to measure, but let's go by their box office. I don't know. I don't think you can measure that because Denzel is like a household name. Like,
well,
you don't even need his last name for you to know who he is.
You don't. I mean, if you say Tom, that could be any Tom.
It could be anybody.
Yeah. But Denzel Hayes Washington Jr. was born December 28th, 1954 in Mount Vernon, New York. His father worked for the New York City Water Department, and he was also a minister. Denzel Washington has been a devout Christian his whole life, and he's really vocal about that. He eventually went to Oakland Military Academy. His parents got divorced when he was 14, and he was sent there. And he said that decision changed my life because I wouldn't have survived in the direction I was going. The guys I was hanging out with at the time, my running buddies, have now done maybe 40 years combined in the penitentiary. They were nice guys, but the street got them. He eventually went to college. He went to Fordham University and graduated in 1977. He earned a BA in drama and journalism. And eventually he was involved in theater. He did theater while he was in college. He was in some summer stock productions, continued to be in more theater. His first big break was he was on NBC's television hospital drama Saint Elsewhere in the 80s. His first film, I think, his first big Hollywood appearance was something called Carbon Copy in 1981. But in the 80s, things really started to kick off for him. And then, like he gets 2 Best Supporting Actor nominations in the late 80s. He wins an Oscar, and things just kind of went on from there. I mean, he's, I just listed how many times he's been nominated. Frequent collaborator with Spike Lee. He was nominated for Malcolm X. He was also in Mo Better Blues. He has gone on to be a director and producer himself. He has directed, I think, 3 films. The most recent of those being Fences, which was a Best Picture nominee. He's done 2 feature films besides Fences. He did Antoine Fisher in 2002, The Great Debaters in 2007. He has one that he did a Grey's Anatomy episode. And he's currently filming something called Journal for Jordan, which will be that looks good too. Yeah.
See, I remember him. The things that I remembered him from first were the movies Philadelphia, when he plays Tom Hanks's lawyer in a story. And that I remember. I don't remember what he said specifically, but I remember that there was some sort of internal struggle for him being a devout Christian and then dealing with this story where he's playing someone who's defending an openly gay man. And that's definitely something that has been at odds with people of the Christian faith for a while. And so he kind of, I don't remember if he said this or not, but it seemed like he brought some of that internal struggle to the character, because the character that he's playing is also somebody who's kind of homophobic. I don't say that Denzel's homophobic, but the character who's playing in that movie was kind of homophobic. And so that
kind of. Yeah.
I'm being kind, but I guess I don't have to be. But he defends his, he's sort of won over by the injustice of what his client is dealing with and wanting to win for them. But also another movie that people never talk about now, but he did this this drama. It was about interracial romance, but it was him and an Indian woman. And it was about the problems of like two different families of color from different cultures. And it was called Mississippi Masala. And that movie made Denzel Washington popular with the Indian crowd, because all of the people in Indian diaspora, there's like almost no American films that represented Indian people in any way. The only one we really had was like, we had Gandhi, we had Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and that was it. And so here's like this American film made with a major star in Denzel Washington in a relationship with an Indian actress and well-known Indian actress playing her family. So instantly we're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Look, somebody made a movie with Indian people in America. Like, this never happens. And it was him. He was the one who it was an interesting story. And I got to see an Indian woman with this black man on all the talk shows talking about this film and this story. And it was that instantly made me and my family a fan of his forever, just because there were so few stories like that and so few actors who really put their star weight behind a story like that. So that made us like always love him no matter what he does forever after.
I think the first thing that I remember really noticing him in, I think he's someone like I always had, I'd heard his name, like just being like a huge celebrity. But the first thing that really stuck with me was Much Ado About Nothing, the Kenneth Branagh film that we talked about last month, because Keanu Reeves is also in it. That's the one that's like, oh, Keanu Reeves does Shakespeare and everyone makes fun of him in it. But it's a good movie. And Keanu Reeves is really hot in it. So, but that's something I really remember Denzel Washington being in. He is quite the humanitarian as well. He's someone, he makes so much money, when he donates, he will just donate millions of dollars. Like, here's $1 million. He donated over $2 million to a church being built in Los Angeles. He's been working with the YMCA for a long time. And yeah, he frequently just donates a lot of money. Just like, here's $1 million. Here's another million.
He's a real Christian at heart in the important ways. He puts his money where his mouth is, or his cross, or however you want to use that horrible axiom. But I like people that at least have the courage of their convictions. He's not just somebody who like shows up to church just to say he's a Christian. He's somebody who actually tries to do something to improve the lot of those less fortunate than he. So that just adds another ticks off another box and what I want in my dream man.
He and his wife, Pauletta Pearson, have been married since 1983. I thought this was fun. They renewed their vows in 95, and it was officiated by Desmond Tutu, which is fun.
Wow. I did not know that, but that's amazing.
Yeah, in South Africa. But they have 4 kids, the most famous of them being John David Washington, who is now becoming a very famous actor himself, and has also been collaborating with Spike Lee, and he's in blockbusters now, and got his really good looks from his father too.
The legacy continues.
But the Washington dynasty is continuing. And we had mentioned this last Monday when we talked about Sidney Poitier, but he is only the second Black man to win Best Actor at the Oscars. And there was such a huge gap between Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington. He also has won, speaking of his awards, besides the Oscars, he has won 17 NAACP Image Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and a Tony.
Oh, did he win the Tony for Fences also?
I'm not sure what the Tony was for. The Tony was, I'm not sure what that was for. Yeah, but he frequently, like, he'll go back and do theater as well. But he's just something, he's just an actor. He's an actor. He's a great actor. Loves acting. Will do stage, screen, television. Yeah, he's great. And the movie that we picked is, I think, my favorite film that he has been in, and he should have won Best Actor for this one. But the film is The Hurricane. He did win a Golden Globe for this, but did not win Best Actor.
You can buy Golden Globes.
Well, he lost this year at the Oscars to Kevin Spacey in American Beauty, which I know. I knew it was going to be a reaction sphere. I do love that movie. I think Kevin Spacey was great in that movie. Should have gone to Denzel Washington in The Hurricane. Hands down. Hands down.
I don't think American Beauty is really that complex a role. All he really had to do was play somebody who was fed up most of the time and then kind of just be a freewheeling jerk. Like, it's a far cry from the role in this film.
Like, yeah. I mean, seriously, this is certainly the more complex role, and he's just so great in this. But this came out in 1999. This is based on the sadly true story of Reuben Hurricane Carter, a boxer wrongly imprisoned for murder, and the people who aided in his fight to prove his innocence. One of, many, many instances of this happening to people, particularly people of color, being wrongly imprisoned. And then there's like, cool, well, sometimes they get out, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they are on death row and get executed, and they find out, oh, I guess you were innocent. Sorry. Yeah, so definitely a lot of problems occur with the context of this film. It's been a little while since I've seen this, but I just remember really being like, oh, he's just so good in this. Really showing, I mean, there's like a 50 year span in when this movie takes place. So you see how he develops this character over the decades too. But it's just good. And he really should have won Best Actor for it, I think. Yeah.
Well, in our hearts, he will be Best Actor winner for this movie as well.
Yeah, and this movie was only nominated for Best Actor at the Oscars. It was nominated for more Golden Globes. It was nominated for Best Motion Picture Drama and Best Director by Mr. Norman Jewison, who was one of our previous directors that we've talked about when we did Fiddler on the Roof. He's a great director as well. Yeah, but Denzel. So you got to watch this movie. It is a little on the long side. It's about 2.5 hours long, but it's so good, really good. And it's an incredible, true story of what happened to this poor man. And this is just one example. Yeah, it's a drama. It is a drama for sure. This movie is available on HBO and HBO Max.
Good thing. I don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah, neither do I. Yeah, but he's, what else could we say about Denzel? He's Denzel.
Let's save it for tomorrow after we've rewatched this movie.
Yeah. Speaking of tomorrow for our Director Tuesday, we are going to be talking about director Gina Prince Bythewood and her film Love and Basketball. So we have both a director of color and a woman tomorrow, and I'm really excited about that because we always, no matter what we do, we always try and get at least one woman director each month.
Hollywood in the movie making world doesn't make that easy all the time, but it's changing. It's changing for the better.
It is. But that's a director that I don't know a whole lot about, and I have not seen tomorrow's film. So it'll be a learning experience for all of us. But please watch The Hurricane, again, available on HBO, and then join us tomorrow for our discussion of it after the movie, followed by our discussion of tomorrow's director. If you're interested in contributing to our Patreon, I put the link in the comments.
Oh,
we appreciate any and all donations. And I will just leave it with this. Just Denzel. Just Denzel. We've got another fun week ahead of us. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
More exciting things to come.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yes. Thank you guys for watching today, and we'll see you tomorrow.